for perfection when I was going crazy. So sucky. Vegan meat would be the healthiest option because it's vegan, but it has so much fat and so many calories. And I was like, fiber, full fat yogurt, full fat milk.
Why am I not drinking whole milk?
All sorts of running things now. Think about it. Social withdrawal. Did you have breakfast this morning? What did you have? What is she doing? Like, why isn't she eating breakfast? You deserve to eat. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm really glad you're here because today's topic is going to be quite interesting, funny, and we're going to unpack a few things too. I'm going to be talking about all of the weird things that I used to do when I was struggling with an eating disorder. And if you have struggled with an eating disorder or are currently struggling with an eating disorder, I think that you'll find some of these things relevant to you. So let's get right into it. Wait, before we get started, I just want to make two quick disclaimers. First of all, please don't compare yourself to me. If I discuss habits that I had when I was struggling with an eating disorder and you didn't have these same habits, that does not mean that your eating disorder is invalid. We're all valid if we've struggled. Second of all, please don't use any of the habits in this video as some sort of motivation or idea on other ways to hurt yourself. The whole purpose of this video is solely to debunk these stupid habits and make you realize that they're absolutely not worthwhile. Hey, it's me from the future, and I'm here because as I was editing this video, I realized that there were a few things that I didn't mention that I think are important to mention. So firstly, as I mentioned, I have two disclaimers, but really I have three. In this video, I won't be discussing any numbers in terms of calories or weight. However, like I said before, this video will be discussing triggering topics surrounding an eating disorder and the things that I used to do when I was struggling with an eating disorder. So if you feel like this video is not for you, that's totally fine. You don't have to watch it. However, as I mentioned, the sole purpose of this video is to debunk these myths. So for some people, it might be helpful. That's up to you to decide. All right, with that said, let's get into the video. Firstly, let's talk about the need for perfection when struggling with an eating disorder. So if you don't know, eating disorders typically come from something much deeper than just the desire to change your body or your eating habits. Eating disorders typically come because the person with an eating disorder is looking for something that will make them feel better to a deeper extent, even though it doesn't work. For example, you don't feel like you're valuable enough or like you are worth anything, but an eating disorder or changing your body will make you feel like you're worth something. Or maybe it's just a high. Maybe an eating disorder is a distraction from whatever else is going on in your life. So for me, I know that my eating disorder was very much so that I could feel more valuable and more confident in my own skin. So along with the need to change my body, I felt the need to be perfect with many other things. It was also just about the idea of constantly remaining productive for me. So I know that even on the weekends, I would have to wake up before 8 a.m. at least, to just be productive, do whatever. I'd probably do a workout or do some yoga or, clean the house. I also had this idea that I couldn't hang out with my friends until after I've done my productive things for the day. Hey, it's me again. So as I was editing this video, I realized that some people might not have any clue why there's a relation between being productive and having an eating disorder, and so I wanted to talk about that. Firstly, of course, not everyone who has an eating disorder feels the need to be productive and vice versa, but for some people, I do think that there's a correlation. The first reason why I think there's a correlation between the two is because, as I mentioned before, eating disorders come from something deeper within us. So for me, as I wanted to feel more valuable, I would engage in eating disorder habits, and the other thing that I would do to make myself feel more valuable was to be productive all the time. So being productive might fill that hole that you have that you're trying to fill with the eating disorder. The second reason why I believe there's a correlation is because a lot of people who have eating disorders tend to be perfectionists. So when you want to lose a little weight, perfectionists might go to a different extreme by engaging in eating disorder habits and therefore developing an eating disorder. So when it comes to being productive, again, perfectionists might take it too far, like being productive all the time and not feeling okay with themselves if they're not being productive. But being quote unquote productive all the time is not actually that productive. Because if you're losing sleep or if you're constantly working, you're gonna get burnt out. And even if you decide to keep on going, your work is not gonna be as efficient or as well done. And also, if we're talking about pure enjoyment here, like, what's the point? Like, what is the point of life if you're always going to be working, if you're always going to be doing things that don't bring you true joy? I personally feel great when I'm productive. I love it. But not when I'm constantly working every single hour of every single day. I want to do my fun things. I want to watch a movie with my parents. I want to go out with my friends whenever I want to go out with them. It's part of life. Of course, sometimes you have to make sacrifices and do, the more productive things first. Like, you have to get your homework done, your schoolwork done, you have to write that essay. But I didn't always have to put the productivity first. It wasn't the case, yet I still did. And that's just not what I think life's about. Another weird thing that I used to do when I was struggling was never sit for more than an hour. So I remember that if I were to sit down, I would look at the time to make sure that after an hour has passed, I'm up and I'm moving again. Even if I was sitting down and being productive, it would still mean I'd have to get up after an hour. Now, this was ridiculous because it made my life harder in areas it didn't have to be. Like, the first few weeks of school were harder because I had to sit down in a classroom for more than an hour, and if I didn't have this idea that I couldn't sit down for more than an hour, then the beginning of school would have been easier. And by school, I mean high school, because in elementary school, we would get up probably after like 45 minutes. Car rides, plane rides, those were all a lot less enjoyable because I was freaking out about the fact that I was sitting down for so much. And I could have had some experiences that were so much better if I didn't ruin them with these thoughts. I could have enjoyed that trip to Niagara Falls with my parents, and I could have had a slightly better plane ride to Romania. I mean, can you imagine 10 hours on the plane? Like, I was going crazy, and 10 hours on the plane is a lot. Like, if you feel like you have to get up and move after 10 hours, I don't blame you. I'm still the same. But it could have been easier if I didn't have these crazy detrimental thoughts while we were on the plane. It's also not just about life being better, but it's also about the fact that life requires you to sit down for more than an hour sometimes, like at school, or when you're on the plane or in the car, or when you're having dinner or drinks with your friends and family and having good conversations with people. You sit down, and that's just that. And to ruin that for yourself, like, it's so sucky. Time for another interruption. I just wanted to take a second to talk about balance because I wanted to mention, of course, it's not healthy to sit down for a very long period of time, very often. However, there's a difference between, feeling like you should move your legs a little bit more after sitting down all day versus feeling like you've been sitting down for too long after 45 minutes and imagining that fat will literally grow on your body as you sit down. As you've probably heard before, balance is key. I feel like people have said that so much that it's lost its meaning. The things that are true are repeated a lot. The next one is a little bit funnier, but it also touches quite a bit into social media. When I was struggling with an eating disorder, I would have about 1 billion different phases regarding food and what's healthy and what's not healthy. So, for example, one week, vegan meat would be the healthiest option because it's vegan, but the next week it would be the worst option because it has so many chemicals and so much sodium. Or avocados used to be great because they're healthy and a fat burning food, according to Instagram. The next week it had too many calories. It was one of the highest calorie fruits. Same thing happened with dark chocolate. I used to think it boosts your metabolism, but then I realized it has so much fat and so many calories, and I was like, oh, no way. I also saw a bunch of models online eating chia seeds, and then I was all like, okay, chia seeds. Look, the skinny girls are eating chia seeds. They're high in fiber. That'll keep me full. Great. And then one day they're also too high in fat and they have too many calories. And I was like, well, screw fiber. Vegan yogurt was on top at one point, and then I realized that Greek yogurt could have less fat and more protein. Phases would change so often, and I think it has so much to do with what I would see on social media. I feel like there's so many trends on social media in regards to the health and fitness world. I know that, like, when I first started my eating disorder, everything was about being vegan. everything. It was all like vegan for a week, vegan for a day, try this vegan dessert, vegan meals, plant-based, all that stuff. And so I really wanted to be vegan. I never did become vegan because my parents never allowed me to, which I think is best because being vegan was really just a way to restrict myself, not because I didn't like meat or because I wanted to help the animals. It was really just to restrict myself. And then eventually, like more recently, it became very much so about incorporating meat and full fat yogurt, full fat milk, not almond milk or oat milk.
The girl before me ordered a cappuccino with whole milk. It stopped me at my tracks, okay? I was looking at her like some kind of unicorn.
And that was very uncommon before. Like when I was first struggling with my eating disorder, red meat and all of these other high fat animal products were just not popular or recommended. And then all of a sudden people were saying that these are actually good for you. If they're whole and organic and grass fed and whatnot, they'd be best.
Why am I not drinking whole milk? We did a full circle now. We are back into the whole milk train.
And so I started to feel more okay about them. I also remember that when I was first starting my eating disorder, I saw so much stuff about weightlifting online because that's the best way to increase your metabolism, to grow muscles, and that way you burn more calories. And now I'm sure that most people could agree that the main form of exercise that's being highlighted on social media is running. People are running half marathons, they're doing all sorts of running things now. So that just goes to show how quickly things change on social media. So if you feel like you want to change your body to fit the standards, just know that the standards are going to change too. And if you want to change your diet or your exercise routine because of what's going on social media, just know it's going to change soon. Stick to what you love best. Stick to the exercise that makes you feel good, the foods that you love and that make you feel good, because who knows, maybe exactly what you're doing right now is what's going to be trendy online. Another odd thing that I would do would be to drink as much water as I possibly could. Now, drinking water is great. I drink a lot of water now too, but back then I would drink so much, especially when I felt full, which was kind of ridiculous. But I would imagine that if I would drink water when I felt full, it would help the food like slide out of my body without putting on any extra weight. But that's actually really wrong, not just because I say so, but because the science proves it. We have digestive enzymes in our stomach and they digest our food. But by drinking a lot of water, you dilute those enzymes in a sense. You dilute their power. So really, you'd be slowing down the digestive process if you drink too much water with your meals. I'm sure a sip here and there is fine, but there's a difference between a sip and what I was drinking when I was struggling with an eating disorder. Okay, so as I was watching this clip, I wanted to make sure that what I was saying was correct, and I promise I didn't pull this stuff out of my butt. Like, I did hear this stuff from health professionals about the digestive enzymes being diluted by water. However, as I did some research, I did realize that there was a lot of research that actually said water was very good for the digestive process, even if you're drinking it with a meal. So honestly, now I'm not so sure about the digestive enzymes, and I feel like I just had to say that. However, it's still ridiculous that with my eating disorder brain, I thought the food would just slide out. That, for a fact, is not how the digestive process works. Thank you. Also, when I was hungry, I would choose to drink a lot of water so that I could fill up my stomach and potentially trick myself into feeling like I wasn't hungry at all. I was actually full. But that's just a little ridiculous. When your body is hungry, it's asking for food because it needs food. If you're thinking, okay, whatever, like I don't need food, I want to lose weight, you need food not just for the energy to do whatever you want to do, but your body needs that energy to just maintain normal bodily functions. And you're not gluttonous or greedy for eating the foods that you love or that you want, or when you're hungry, you're not gluttonous or greedy for eating food, or even if you're not hungry and you're just craving something. And also, think about it. If you had a little child come up to you and tell you like they're so hungry, or if your friend was saying, I'm so hungry, or if your parents were saying, I'm so hungry, you would never say, you're probably thirsty, just have some water, that'll fill you up. No, that's not what you would say. You would say, okay, can you go find something to eat? Do you want my granola bar, The next weird thing I would do is something that I find a little bit more embarrassing. I used to kind of want to watch people eat. Now, don't get me wrong, I wasn't staring at people eat in real life, but I would like to watch those mukbang videos. And this was something that I would do because it was kind of like a way to live vicariously through these people who were eating all of the foods that I feared and eating a great quantity of them. It's kind of like watching rich people online go about their day. You kind of want to have what they have. You accept that you don't, but you want it and you like to imagine what it would be like to have it. And that's kind of how I was with the food. I accept that I don't have the food that those mukbangers are having, but I imagine what it would be like to have it, and I watch them in awe. It's relatively normal to watch people do the things we can't do or have the things we can't have because we aspire for more. That's just human nature. But if you're fortunate enough to have food in your fridge, then you're fortunate enough to eat it. You have that right already. And you just have to allow yourself to go and eat some food. It's a human need to eat. You deserve to eat. All right, I'm back again. I realized that I just made eating and recovering from an eating disorder sound so simple. Like, just go. You have food in the fridge, go eat it. It's fine. No, I do realize it's not that simple. Trust me, as someone who struggled with an eating disorder, I get it. And it's not like I just had the food in the fridge that I could go and eat, but I also had people telling me to eat and trying to force me to eat. So I realize that it's really hard to just eat. However, recovering from an eating disorder is really all about challenging your thoughts. It's kind of like exposure therapy. You know, you don't get over fear unless you expose yourself to it. Just like you won't get over an eating disorder unless you expose yourself to your fears. Eating the fear foods, eating when you're hungry, eating even when you're not hungry and you're just craving something. It's also about challenging any other extra eating disorder habits you have, like eating only at certain times or exercising too much or moving after like 2 seconds. Again, I realize it's not so easy, but the process is simple in a sense. I hope you know what I mean. Another weird thing that I would do, but I also think this is pretty common, is social withdrawal. I would withdraw myself from any social situations that I believed could possibly include food. Not only because I might have to eat the food, but because if I would say no to the food, I was scared that people would think that I'm weird or being disrespectful because I don't like whatever they're cooking. And even if there wasn't any food at this particular hangout event or whatever, I would still withdraw because I barely had the energy to do anything but my morning workout. Like, even if I would sit down to study, it was so hard for me to just concentrate on whatever it was I was reading. You know, when you're reading and you don't remember what you just read, like that was me all of the time. And also, there was this sense of hangriness in me probably all the time. I had such a short temper with pretty much everyone because even though I had lost my hunger cues at one point, which is quite common if you deny your hunger for a long time, even though I lost those hunger cues, I still had other hangry symptoms like dizziness or being tired, low energy, lack of concentration, cravings, and obviously a short temper. I also believe that I was having some hormonal imbalances at the time because if you're under eating and exercising so much, I'm sure that that would cause quite a lot of stress on the body, leading to hormonal imbalances. And proof of these hormonal imbalances include me losing my period, and when I went to the doctor, he said that my thyroid gland was not functioning properly. If you don't know, the thyroid is a hormone-producing gland and it plays a major role in metabolism and growth and development. Now, this is something else that I think is just so silly, this social withdrawal, because we love connection with other people. That's, again, part of human nature. Now, to deny yourself of that because, you're scared of the food or because you don't even have the energy to talk to people and hang out with people, it makes me wonder, again, what is life even about? I mean, where's the enjoyment? Where's the pleasure in life? I mean, you only live once. I believe that this constant need for being productive and also never seeing people was also what contributed to me feeling so sad all the time and feeling like I had no reason to live. I personally don't know what depression really is or what it's like, but I remember that at that time when I was struggling, I believed that that was what depression was. I remember telling myself, like, I am depressed. I don't just have an eating disorder, I have depression too. I'm not sure if that was the case. I just know that I was really, really sad. The last weird thing that I would do is be curious about other people's eating habits. Whenever someone would say that they're hungry, I would try to get any more information about their eating on that day as I possibly could. I would ask them, well, did you have breakfast this morning? If you did, what did you have? Or are you going to eat soon then? Do you have a good lunch with you? I would ask them whatever I could to know what they're eating. This was highly because I just wanted to compare myself to other people. I wanted to make sure that I was always eating less than the person I was talking to. And if I wasn't eating less than them, I would probably lose my mind. Like, I would feel really guilty and I'd get frustrated. I remember there was this one girl in my class who would always talk about how she doesn't eat breakfast, and everyone would tell her, oh, you gotta eat breakfast. I was eating breakfast at the time, and I remember that whenever she would say that, I would lose my marbles. I would get so frustrated. I'd be like, what is she doing? Like, why isn't she eating breakfast? Why is she eating so little? Why is she so thin? I would just get so upset about it, when really it's her own business. Maybe she has no appetite in the morning and she eats a lot later. Or maybe she doesn't, and maybe she just needs less food. It's whatever. It's none of my business. Everyone has such different needs, so it's ridiculous to compare yourself to others. Thank you all for being here. I hope that this video helped you in whatever way you needed. And remember, as I said at the beginning, please don't compare yourself to me. If you didn't have some of the same weird habits like I did, that doesn't mean that your eating disorder is invalid. It just means that we're different. Also, please don't consider any of the habits mentioned in this video as some sort of idea on how to hurt yourself more. The whole purpose of this video was to debunk these stupid habits and make you realize that they're not worth your time at all. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye!